Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You've always been a great coach to me. All right. So as we said, it's we just finished the introduction. So Jane's going to take it away next on becoming an ICF certified coach. And then we'll stop the slides and we'll talk, the four of us will talk about what it's like actually being a coach. And if Alicia or anybody else wants to join that conversation, that would be great. And then I have our questions and answers and a little summary at the end. So Jane, if you don't mind taking it away.
Great, thanks. And thanks so much, Kathy, for inviting me to join you today. So as we heard, you know, Jocelyn, Shauna, and Hossein, you all talked about being a coach. And there are lots of different definitions of what is a coach and how are you coaching? What is that actually like? So I wanted to just start with the International Coaching Federation's definition of coach. And that is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process. So that they can reach their potential. And I think the key nuggets here is that coaching in ICF's world is really client driven as opposed to an advice kind of a model, right? So the client drives the agenda for what they want to achieve. And you really partner with your client to co-create an environment that's really going to work for them to maximize their own development. In the coaching really helps to provide focus for individuals as they set their goals, as they try to imagine new possibilities for action and start to create some new outcomes. And then for managing that change, because often we've got great ideas, but we don't have the accountability in place to follow through with our great ideas. So coaching also, by ICF's definition, has that accountability piece, and the coach plays an important role in helping the client be accountable. Next slide, Kathleen. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So the coach's role is really discovering and aligning with what does the client actually want. And this question, what do you want? What do you really want? What do you really, really want is a great coaching question for people. So even informally, as you're working with people, getting to the really the gist of the matter, right? What is it you really want here? And it's amazing how many times we don't actually consider, what is it we really want? What do we want to create here? What kind of legacy do we want to leave? What kind of mood do we want to create in this meeting? What's the purpose of this meeting, right? What is it we want to achieve? And I think the coach really works with the client to help the client achieve what they want. This self-discovery process is a really critical one. As coaches often, I like to use the analogy of hold up a mirror so that people can see themselves in new ways. They can start to discover aspects of themselves that they were blind to. We all have blind spots, and coach plays a great role in providing feedback to clients, in helping clients really discover in new ways who they actually are. So encouraging the client self-discovery is another important aspect of a coach's role. And all the way along, you're eliciting client-generated solutions and strategies. So this is the key differentiator from the role of a consultant versus a coach. In a consultant model, it's the consultant that has the ideas, that has the solutions, that has strategies. And in this model of coaching, we really elicit from the client, believing that the client is creative, resourceful, and they're whole. So they can generate this right solutions that are right for them in that moment. And our role as coach is to try to elicit that from our clients. And then holding the client responsible, holding the client accountable to do what they say they're going to do, right? To make commitments to themselves and be clear about what's their next step. Because most of the coaching work doesn't happen in the coaching meetings. It happens between the coaching meetings when our clients are actually putting into practice their new insights, their new actions, their new commitments. So just to clarify, what coaching isn't is therapy. coaching is very future focused. It's very strengths focused, strengths based. So it is different in that way as than therapy. Although a lot of psychotherapy these days, positive psychology based, it's starting to blur more than it has in the past. But it's a key differentiator from therapy, where there's a therapist who has advice, who understands diagnosis and works with clients on issues, versus really helping clients achieve what they want in coaching. The consulting model, I already differentiated that. Mentoring, we heard from a few people that sometimes in our roles, whether we're working in a college environment or other environments, we find ourselves as mentors to people. And again, there's a lot of advice, there's a lot of, this is how it worked for me kind of experience being shared in those mentoring relationships, which are very valuable, but different than coaching. Training is something else that coaching isn't training. And obviously athletic development. A lot of times when people hear the word coach, they say, oh yeah, I had a coach in basketball. But if you think about what that basketball coach did for you, it was very different than what is here. Next slide, please. Thanks. So I'd like to think about starting from the client's perspective, right? When you're thinking about coaching and do I want to be a coach and what's the business of coaching like? It's often helpful, I find, to think about it from your client's perspective. And if we look at what are the typical reasons that people hire coaches, this was from a survey done by the Institute, the International Coaching Federation, along with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they identified that typically the #1 reason people hire coaches is to optimize their own work performance or their team's work performance. Expanding career opportunities. So there's a lot of people who are career coaches, who work with people who are in transition or who are just trying to get to that next level in their career, that next career move. Increasing self-esteem and confidence is another very common reason why people come to coaching, as is improving just their overall business. And finally, there's a whole realm of coaching that focuses on trying to find some balance, trying to manage your work and your life together. So those are the typical reasons for hiring a coach. So as a result, there are different specialties that people have when they enter the coaching world or as they evolve within the coaching world. A lot of people don't start with a niche necessarily because they want to discover what that niche might be with time. Although it is a best practice to really figure out what's my niche going to be in the coaching world. There are a lot of coaches out there. So how am I different? What is it about my coaching that's different? And if you can think about coaching, there's main specialties include things like leadership coaching. Some people focus more on business or even a particular part of business, like some people just do sales coaching, for instance. Executive coaching is strictly thinking about it from a level perspective, working with the C-suite in organizations, so senior executives. And then there's life coaching, enhancement coaching, there's health coaching. There's lots of different types of specialties. And it's important as you're thinking about becoming a coach to think about what would my specialty be? What makes me different? Where's my passion? What do I really want to do here, right? Back to that question, what do I really, really want? When thinking about your clients, because coaching is a business, right? And it's important to think about what do clients ask for? And these are common things that clients ask when they're first talking with a coach to try to decide who do they want to work with. What's your coaching experience, right? How many years have you actually been coaching? What about the training? What's your coach specific training? Or what is your area of specialty, something that I'm interested in? What kinds of businesses, industries do you work with most often? Are you mostly public sector? Are you private sector? What levels in the organization? Do you work more with high potential leaders coming up, or are you working with CEOs? What's your coaching philosophy, right? So this gets back to, how do you see the world? Because it's nice to work with someone who shares the same kind of philosophy as you do. What types of assessments do you deliver? Most coaches have a number of different assessments that they would use early in the coaching process. to help get to know their client more effectively and to help create a development plan with their client. So these might be something like the Hogan assessment or the Berkman assessment or leadership circle. There's all kinds of different assessments that you might work with, and certain organizations are really use one particular assessment. So that's a common question that they might ask. And what are some of your success stories, right? Have you coached someone like me, right? Often people want to know if you've had experiencing coaching and what have the results of that coaching experience has been. And finally, one of the questions that's really important that most people that I've worked with certainly ask, that is, what are your credentials? And people are usually familiar with the International Coaching Federation, and you might see sometimes the word International Coach Federation, because that's what it was prior to this year. But there will be a new logo coming out with the word coaching in it very shortly. So it's now called the International Coaching Federation to reflect the broader mandate that the Coaching Federation has. But it's really the gold standard for credentialing around the globe. It's the largest coach organization. It's the only one that really has this global reach. And there are chapters right around the entire world. They even have a credentialing system where there's core competencies identified for coaching. And at each of the levels of coaching, there are certain levels that you need to achieve in order to be recognized as that kind of a coach. So initially, the level that people, once they've had their 60 hours of ICF approved training and 100 hours of actual one-on-one coaching experience with at least 8 clients, and they've had some mentoring hours and they've written and passed an exam, then they can apply and get their ACC. They become an associate coach. Once they've done that, you can move along to a professional coach, and then finally, as Kathleen is, a master coach. So that's the highest level of coaching certification available, and there really aren't a lot of master coaches around. It's just it's quite a big honor to be a master coach, and really are the best of the most experienced kind of coaching that ICF recognizes. So those are the 3 levels of ICF credentials that exist, and those credentials really bring a lot of credibility with clients. They help clients understand that as an ICF coach, you are committed to living the ethics, that you have that knowledge skill level, and that you're committed to your ongoing professional development, right? Being a coach is a lifelong learning kind of venture, and ICF requires continuing coaching education to be able to prove that you are continuing to work on your own professional development. The ICF credentialing also helps you develop as a coach, brings personal satisfaction as you can see your skills grow, and reinforces the integrity of having a coaching profession, being part of this larger community that looks at the broader issues associated with coaching nowadays with artificial intelligence and so forth. There's a lot of ethical issues associated with coaching, and ICF is that organization that we support. I did want to mention that ICF Global has a webinar on credentialing specifically. So it's a 1-hour webinar, and you can just go onto the ICF Global site and sign up for it. And it gets into a lot of detail around the different paths to achieving those different levels of credentials, and can speak on behalf of the association. The International Coach Federation also, with COVID, has recently made a few changes